Welcome to each of you this evening, both here in this space and joining us on Zoom. Here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta, co-creating beloved community is our mission. We strive to reach that lofty vision through promoting justice and acting with respect, reason, and compassion. Compassion, that's the name of this evening. Sometimes the winter holy days and their added stressors and grief require extra compassion, extra care, extra connection and solidarity. Tonight's Blue Christmas service is intended to fill those deeply spiritual needs through a series of short readings, music, and silence, and each other. Perhaps the strongest salve for the moments in which we are most challenged. My name is Reverend Nic Filzen, if you don't know me. I'm humbled to be assisting the pastoral care team in creating this evening's worship. And tonight's music is a gift from music director Robyn Macey with guest artists Jan Parsons and Tracy Craig. Thank each of you, both on the care team and the musicians, for your service to this holy moment together. May we now begin our holy time here in this space. May we send out our presence to those around us who are hurting, and may our hearts open to receive those gifts of presence in return. May each of us be the support all humans need to survive, starting here in this room and on Zoom. Because we need that support too. And may our time together make all of us more whole. Winter night, clear and bright, a weary world is sleeping, and then a cry fills earth and sky, a newborn child is weeping. Hushaby, lullaby, blessed little baby. Drops of pain flow like rain, tell why your tears are falling. For humankind, so frail, unkind, or for your own life's calling. Hushaby, lullaby, blessed little baby. Holy child, every child, your life will have its season, and each new day your heart may pray for grace, for peace, for reason. Hushaby, lullaby, blessed little baby.
Our chalice lighting is Epitaph by Franz Reitz. Now, I'm not the brightest knife in the drawer, but I know a couple of things about this life: poverty, silence, impermanence, discipline, and mystery. The world is not illusory, we are. From crimson thread to toe tag, if you're not disturbed, there is something seriously wrong with you. I'm sorry. And I know who I am. I'll be a voice coming from nowhere, inside. Be glad for me.
Nicholas Wolterstorff wrote a book on Lament of a Son, his own. Nicholas Paul Wolterstorff is an American philosopher and theologian. He is currently Noah Porter Professor Emeritus in Philosophical Theology at Yale University. Dr. Wolterstorff published Lament of a Son after the untimely death of his 25-year-old son, Eric, in a mountain climbing accident. In his book, Dr. Wolterstorff provides a series of individual thoughts and ideas rather than a continuous text. He said that that approach reflects the active jumping of his mind and emotions that was his reality upon learning about the death of his son. This reading is meant to, therefore, address the experience of those who, at this time of year, feel the loss of a loved one, someone who is no longer with them. The first paragraph goes like this: "Why are the photographs of him as a little boy so incredibly hard to look at? Something is over. Now, instead of those shiny memories being things we can share together in delighted memories, I, the survivor, have to bear them alone. So it is with all the memories of him. They all lead to blackness. All I can do is remember him. I cannot experience him. Nothing new can happen between us." Next thought is, rather often I'm asked whether the grief remains as intense as when I wrote. The answer is no. The wound is no longer raw, but it has not disappeared. That is as it should be. If he was worth loving, he is worth grieving over. The next thought is, grief is existential testimony to the worth of the loved one. That worth abides. So I own my grief. I don't try to put it behind me, to get over it, to forget it. Every lament is a love song. Finally, faith is a footbridge that you don't know will hold you up over the chasm until you're forced to walk over it. Thoughts of Dr. Nicholas Waltersdorf.
A Blessing When the World is Ending by Jan Richardson. Look, the world is always ending somewhere. Somewhere the sun has come crashing down. Somewhere it has gone completely dark. Somewhere it has ended with the gun, the knife, the fist. Somewhere it has ended with the slammed door, the shattered hope. Somewhere it has ended with the utter quiet that follows the news from the phone, the television, the hospital room. Somewhere it has ended with a tenderness that will break your heart. But listen, this blessing means to be anything but morose. It has not come to cause despair. It is simply here, because there is nothing a blessing is better suited for than an ending. Nothing that cries out more for a blessing than when a world is falling apart. This blessing will not fix you, will not mend you, will not give you false comfort. It will not talk to you about one door opening when another one closes. It will simply sit itself beside you among the shards
and gently turn your face toward the direction from which the light will come, gathering itself about you as the world begins again.
This moment of the year, roughly between mid-October through December, is full of holidays from a wide range of world religions. Big and small holy days that in some way or another have touched our lives. And I think in many cases, these holy days are indeed the moments in the cycle of each year that folks feel a sense of holiness in their lives, a sense of wholeness in their lives. Perhaps because of the weather, at least in some parts of the country, although tonight is giving us something somewhat wintry. But in some parts of the country, along with snow and a chill in the air, comes a little bit of a nostalgic recalling maybe of wonderful moments that we may have had as children. Or perhaps a sense of wholeness is because many of us travel to see loved ones we haven't seen for perhaps a year or more, restoring a wholeness of community. Perhaps it's the rituals that we do during this time of year, like taking pictures with Santa or putting up a tree or building a Christmas creche if that is part of your tradition, or performing pageants or other holiday concerts. There's so much that we do each year, celebrating the perpetual newness and gifts of life, divine life, which I think is perhaps the greatest meaning for me from the story of Jesus' birth, a story about the ongoing spark of new divine life. One can find the same kind of symbolic content among other religious stories, especially pagan rituals and symbols and mythos. Stories which are directly related to the cycles of nature, of our planet as it spins around the sun over and over again. An annual cycle that reminds us of the necessity of dark times and light times. Remind us that whatever happens, light will always return once again, yet so shall the dark. A process which cannot be disentangled from the sustaining of all life. And yet, not all of us look back on our childhood memories as ones that inspire renewal or wonder or awe or even peace. Perhaps some of us had challenging childhoods in which those stories of wonder and awe that remain meaningful for some folks were dampened too soon. Embers of imagination that lost their meaningful glow before they could become an enduring flame. Or goodness forbid, if this moment of the year reminds you of trauma from earlier in your life, perhaps even inflicted by the very people that should have given you a sense of wholeness. Something you might have experienced that forced us to believe that no way is there something, anything wonderful out there for us. Because the life that we might have been experiencing was full of far too much pain and uncertainty. Yes, life itself is uncertain. And yet, sometimes we can find uncertainty become overwhelming. And the ground beneath us may seem miles away. returning to the people to whom you're related, a holiday reconnection with family, may be more painful than it's worth, more lonely, maybe even more angry. And then there are the rituals or stories we might have been forced to believe, compelled to understand as fact, even if it didn't feel right, seem reasonable, thus causing a legitimate spiritual scar, a wound that may yet be open today. Now, everything I've named so far that may be in our hearts and in our stories is based on our personal histories. And in this moment, many people, maybe in this room and in this world, are nervous and scared that they have no gifts to offer right now, or will receive no gifts from others right now. And I'm not just talking about stuff purchased from stores, though I'm not discounting the importance of that for some, especially kids. We may feel we have no family to safely return to right now. We may feel as though we are totally severed from a community that can sustain and hold us right now. An extra dose of chemical depression is holding us down because of a lack of sunlight right now. And these are valid feelings. Feelings that are too often intentionally or unintentionally overlooked, unaffirmed, especially during this time of year, when typically cheerful Christmas music is blasting over all the speakers. We're expected to be happy, expected to have a smile on our face, expected to bring in the new year with cheer. Yet we should somehow magically set aside all the stress and anxiety, and all those expectations can create a whole new trauma themselves, let alone how they're related to our existing life stories. If we already feel bad when we are repeatedly told, in words or not, that we are not living in the right way, new wounds can cut deep. Culture itself is gaslighting us. It's telling us over and over that our experiences are not real, and that's tragic and lonely. And I, for one, wouldn't blame you if you felt angry if any of this was part of your lived experience. Especially if there's ever even a hint of someone telling you to smile. I'm aware that's unsolicited feedback that femme folk receive far more often than cisgender male people, which highlights all these other things, all these other societal, systemic, dominant cultural systems that are telling us we must be this kind of way. And this compounds, and it compounds, and it compounds. And that story, regrettably experienced by many of us, doesn't really sound whole or holy at all. It kind of sounds like hell to me. Now, to be clear, I don't personally believe in hell, and yet I do believe that we can be forced into situations in our lives that resemble it, and we could also be put into situations in our lives that start turning us towards something resembling heaven. Heaven here on earth. Again, personally, I'm not concerned with an afterlife heaven, though I celebrate it if it offers you solace and peace. I'm much more interested in creating heaven here on earth, nurturing a sense of wholeness and joy, nurturing fulfillment, nurturing love for every body. And we cannot do that by discounting all the real valid stuff that comes up for us. We cannot discount the sad, lonely, grieving, angry moments in our lives. Quite the opposite. We embrace those moments and hold them with care as one aspect of our whole lives. We do that by traveling through those moments with other folks in our lives who are hurting, journeying alongside as you, experience heartache, pain, loss. We do that by not expecting the people who are experiencing those emotions to simply set those emotions aside. We do that by welcoming folks into our lives, into our communities, however they might arrive, meeting them exactly where they are, affirming you exactly as you are. I affirm you exactly as you are. And in this season of holy days, if you are feeling a certain kind of way, if life has thrown you some curveballs, if life has you down, may we lift a little bit of that burden off your shoulders. Move through it together. I'm imagining Sisyphus having a friend right now. Sure, you have some agency, really so much agency that can never be taken away from you to move through and perhaps beyond the most challenging moments of your life. Despair is not set in stone. And yet, if we are truly to live into the season's call, and if we have some emotional bandwidth to spare, any amount, may we take on some of that load for others. Not necessarily being a shining star that guides you towards some kind of promised land or promised person that will miraculously fix all your problems. We travel alongside each other, alongside you, wherever you're headed, holding you with love. I am with you. The UUCA Pastoral Care team is with you. Our whole congregation is with you through whatever you might be experiencing. You are held in love here in this community. Deep love. I love you. I love you. And as my dear friend and colleague, Reverend Misha Sanders, says often, there's nothing you can do about it.
A reading from Lisa Presley. And we are never truly done with grieving. Each loss we have brings back the ones that have come before. When we learn something new about ourselves, or about that which is lost, or about our relationship to that which is lost, we go back again and reevaluate everything in light of that new information. We revisit the old hurts, the old haunts, looking again for the ways in which we can transform, not transcend grief. We must always be able to know what is lost before we can truly see what is left and how that might be transformed.
For a Time of Sorrow by Howard Thurman. I share with you the agony of your grief. The anguish of your heart finds echo in my own. I know I cannot enter all you feel, nor bear with you the burden of your pain, but I can offer what my love does give, the strength of caring, the warmth of one who seeks to understand, the silent storm-swept barrenness of so great a loss. This I do in quiet ways, that on your lonely path you may not walk alone.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long, long ago. What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd,